So I had this group of moms in Bombay. Bombay is known for single moms, widowed moms, husbands don't have time, and they have small kids. So that is how this mom and kids trips started. And we did everything in a very educational way. So our kids were from 3 years to 10 years. Post 10, they don't want to be with their parents. They want to be all alone. So then I researched and got into the kids zone in travel.
Hey everyone, this is Shruti. Welcome to my podcast, I'm Just Curious, where I talk of all things I'm curious about with the people I'm curious about and how they turned their passion into their profession. In today's episode, I'm talking to someone who took her passion for travel to another level. After finishing her MBA in Symbiosis Pune, she joined her father in their family business in a company that dealt with construction equipment trading. And later on in 2013, she found out she had an inclination towards travel planning. And so I'm more than happy to welcome Arohi Shah from The Voyager. Hi Arohi, how are you?
Hi Shruti, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. How are you feeling today? All good?
Yeah, I'm feeling all jittery because this is the first time for a podcast for me, honestly.
Yeah.
I've been on Insta Live and all, but
yeah, this is on one is like a little, and plus after pandemic we've stopped like meeting people in person.
Yeah.
So
when I travel, it's all like all natural. I'm just like out there, been there, done that, rough and tough.
As I said that you finished your MBA from Symbiosis in Pune, and then you joined your father in the family business. So talk to me about that. How that whole experience has been for you, and like how was that whole experience for you?
So I've been born and brought up in a very industrious family, and my father always wanted me to pursue his career. He was into automobile industry, and because I'd studied so much, he said that he wanted to set up a new vertical, and he wanted me to get into construction equipments. I've always been into marketing, and I can market anything and everything. So he said that why don't you give it a try in the construction equipment business, and then we set up an office in Bombay, and I went through all the local trains to Panvel and Mumbai airport, and we had clients everywhere. So right from rock breaking equipments to JCB kind of equipments, I've sold everything, been there at the mines and sold everything. So it was like more of a man's world.
Yeah, a tough daredevil kind of job.
Yeah.
Nice. I mean, so you were doing that, and you always had an inclination towards like travel planning. Like since you were a child, you were inclined towards traveling.
So I was, as a child, as we were talking earlier, my parents, we've always been in a nuclear family, and my parents gave us an open end. They always used to say that you and your brother, whatever you decide, and we'll go. So on this huge atlas, we always used to sit together and pick up places that where we explore, be it a road trip or anything. So we used to study geography, and I was always the one. My brother had no idea about travels. I was always the one who would jot down itineraries, pick out the atlas, and that entire thing with all four of us was so energetic and so bonding. So it created so many bonds that then we used to end up going on road trips, and we used to get into the flora, fauna, the local customs. My mom never used to pack khakras and theplas. Being raised in a Gujarati household, we always used to taste the local flavors wherever we used to go. In the same way, when I was 10 years old, my first trip was to Japan and Hong Kong. Wow. And of course, we are vegetarians. I've always had eggs. I'm an eggetarian. But we've always, been there and tasted all the local delicacies, the fruits. That's how we come to know about the place and the topography. It's not just about sightseeing and, just packing the bags. And today we have to go to the Disneyland and Mount Fuji. And no, it's not like that. So I've always been brought up in such a way that, you travel to live. So that is why, my punchline is travel to awaken. Wow. That liveliness should be awakened inside you.
Yeah. That is such a great thought to have, Talk to me about that, you you had this inclination towards travel. You have a very special connection with traveling because it brought your family together, and you had so many of your personal family experiences while traveling. So how did the Voyager come about? Like, how did you find, how did you establish the Voyager? Talk to me about that
I
journey.
got married, and of course I continued in my father's business. I had a huge friend circle in Ahmedabad. My husband comes from a very highly social family, well-connected family. And I always, my friends always used to tell me, that in our groups that now it's the time for travel. So Arohi will be the one who will design the tours for all of us. Because wherever we went, it was always like So Jawai is now picked up as a destination. We went to Jawai in 2006 when it was not even very commercialized. So I had inclination and knowledge. I always used to read a lot of books, and then eventually my friends used to come to me that everyone was getting married at the same time, and they wanted to go on their honeymoons and all, and I used to just ask them, and then we used to go to the nearby travel agent that we want the itinerary as it is. We want to stay at this place, and this we used to chalk out everything. And I continued in my father's business. Eventually, I had kids. So when my daughter was born, I felt that what am I doing, in such a male-dominated world? I don't want to sell construction equipments anymore.
Yeah.
So I just, this is the thing, why don't we give it a try?
Yeah.
And in every nook and corner, like we say, gully pe, there were travel agents in every nook and corner. So I was, of course, very scared that how will I shine out, But by God's grace, I came out with a different concept. In 2013, I set up my travel agency in a very different way. The first concept, it was a novel concept in mom and kids. So we took mom and kids to for 2 nights, 3 nights to Mysore, Ooty, Coorg, Kunur, Darjeeling. If we went to Darjeeling, it was like framed as a tea party in the hills. Wow. So the breakfast was set up by the lake. Then we used to take a guitarist up the hill, and we used to pack apples and sandwiches in a picnic basket, and we used to take all the kids up. The guitarist would play nursery rhymes, so and moms also wanted to bond. So I had this group of moms in Bombay. Bombay is known for single moms, widowed moms. Husbands don't have time, and they have small kids. So that is how this mom and kids trips started. And we did everything in a very educational way. So our kids were from 3 years to 10 years. Post 10, they don't want to be with their parents. Yeah. They want to be all alone. So then I researched and got into the kids zone in travel, and then word of mouth spread, and then these moms, they encouraged me to do an international trip. So we went to Switzerland, wherein we did Switzerland in a very different way. We did a chocolate train from Montreux to Lucerne. So kids were on a chocolate train. Okay. So it was very different. Then we went to Austria. Austria also, it was not just the Sound of Music trail and not the typical sightseeing. Yeah. So we used to explain everything to the kids. The moms also wanted to party. They wanted to leave the kids and go shopping. They wanted to leave the kids and go partying and all. So this was where my expertise comes, that I'm very good at handling kids. We used to do pajama parties, we used to do pool parties, popcorn and movie parties for the kids, and we used to make them go to sleep. Right. So that's how we became very famous in the mom and kids segment. Yeah. And then eventually through word of mouth they spoke to their parents, and then since 2016, from 2016 to 2019, I've only done Scandinavia. So we did senior citizens trips, and we've been taking senior citizens in the last 4 years. This was all pre-COVID.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's so much that you just said, and I want to talk about all of it. First of all, the place that you mentioned, I've not even heard, the Jawai. That's what the place that you mentioned?
Yeah, that is, Jawai is now very famous.
Where is it? I've not heard of it.
So that is about a few, it's towards, it's in Pali.
Okay.
It's in Rajasthan, and it's very famous for its leopard sightings.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, so now it's very commercialized. Earlier there were no hotels. I still remember we went with our friends and we just stayed in a 7-room property. That was the only one. And they used to put a goat, and they used to call the leopard. So the leopard would come and kill the goat in front of us. Now everything is banned. But this is how we've seen the leopard in Jawai. And now it's like so commercialized that there are better places in Rajasthan to see.
Okay.
So also in the kids segment, what I wanted to tell you was that there are schools. I've been associated with a few schools in Ahmedabad, wherein the concept is that, you know, a child tells the other child that we are going abroad, and the other child listens in school, and he comes and tells his parents that she's going abroad, even I want to go abroad.
Comparison with other people.
Yeah, so the parent feels very pressurized, and then they come and tell the teachers that these are the conversations happening in the school. So I've been working with the government of Gujarat, the Gujarat tourism, for some time now, and they come to me, the schools come to me, and then, you know, I talk on the panel in public. I explain to the kids that travel is not about stamping on that passport and showing it off to your friends and family. Travel is about bonding. These days mama does not have time, papa does not have time, both of them, they work. So this is the precious time when they are taking you out, even for a night or for 2 nights. You savor that, and you know, it's like this precious time spent with your...
And don't compare it with where did you go and who went where. Instead,
so in the same way, we've identified 15-20 places in Gujarat. You know, like nobody would have heard that there's a Ratan Mahal sloth bear sanctuary, wherein there are sloth bears. Then there are waterfalls. You know, you just trek in the riverbed.
In Gujarat, there are waterfalls?
Yeah, so you just trek inside the riverbed. The riverbed is dry. You just trek inside for 2 kilometers. You can also go on the camel, and you know, you can enjoy the waterfall. You can bathe in it and then come back. So, and these are just like drivable distances from Ahmedabad. So of course, there are treks also. There are so many things that you can do in Gujarat as well. And properties are also coming up. So that is how, you know, my parents and child segment has also come up in that way. A lot of parents come to me for consultation that, you know, how...
Talk to a child or like...
No, not that ways, but how do we, where do we go?
Plan travels.
Yeah.
Because you like... The way you are so passionate about the details about like that, you said that, you know, you took the kids to Switzerland and they were on a chocolate train. Like the train had chocolate. What's that chocolate train?
So it's called a chocolate train, and it has the world's. I mean, you have chocolate fountain, and like you are spoiled for chocolate. There is a chocolate factory, and you know, it's like of course there is scenery to be seen outside, because chocolates are everywhere, and you can have as much chocolate as you, and there's chocolate ice cream free flowing. So basically in the train there is free flow of chocolates, like all kinds of milk, dark, almond, and anything, and it's run by Hershey's.
Of course.
So because Switzerland Hershey's is manufactured in Switzerland.
Right. When I hear you talk about travel, I mean, there's so much like depth in it. And like you create these immersive experiences, you know, like how like artists do nowadays. Like they like, you know, the big artists that Van Gogh or something, you know, they have these immersive art experiences at galleries or something. Like it's very similar, like how you plan travel, and you know, like it's very thought out, very detailed. So talk to me about like, and you mentioned Scandinavia also. So I want to know why Scandinavia. I know, like I've been to Stockholm once and I love that place, but I want to hear from you. Like, what about Scandinavia is that, you know, like, do you like?
So, see, basically, I never wanted to commercialize myself. So, people used to come to me that, you know, you want to do Switzerland and Paris and London. And, you know, they used to compare with the other travel agents. They're quoting me this, and you are quoting me this. And so, I just wanted to explain once and for all, everybody, the world per se, that look, I am into experiences. I'm not into any and every travel.
Yeah.
So and I first travel, I find out, and then I sell that part. So I've traveled to 29 plus countries in the world till now.
Okay.
And what intrigues me is that there is this science. Of course, you've been to Sweden, but all these countries, the Northern Lights. So and the frigid zone, the North Pole. So everybody's done everything. They've been to Australia, New Zealand, everything. But what sets this thing apart? The flora, the fauna. What are the animals? What are the kind of birds? What is the food that
The
they
natural
eat?
habitat of that place.
Yeah, the natural habitat. But apart from that, they say that if you've seen Canada, if you've seen Africa, you've seen the entire world. But of course, that is true because
is it?
you have, you have the best of the beauties in both these continents,
Canada and
the
Africa.
East Africa and Canada. But the Scandinavian part is, see, if you go to, say for example, Norway. There are the fjords, and you can see the Northern Lights, and it is a science.
Yeah.
So you have to calculate, based on the moon position and the sun, and if it is cloudy, then you cannot get to see the Northern Lights. So it orbits. I mean, you have to. There is a science. So if you select. If you are in Finland, in Helsinki, that is on the coastline, so you'll never be able to see the Northern Lights from Finland. You have to travel up north.
Up.
And my itineraries, I recommend not to do city travel by flights. I always recommend that you arrive in Helsinki and then you drive up north so that you get to see everything. And there are so many lakes. Finland is a country of lakes. It has the highest number of lakes in the world, which people don't know. So if it is snowing, then they have to. There are these vehicles. They chain the tires and how the vehicles move around in those areas. Then there are these snow leopards in certain areas.
Yeah.
So all this also intrigues me. And apart from that, the culture of the place, of course, every place has different things. Iceland is a complete desert. So when I started, very few people were there in the industry. And, I have myself driven all around Iceland and taken my tour.
Okay.
There was no chauffeur over there. So I just drove a van. I love to drive wherever I go, especially Europe. I just love to drive. So I used to take them, and then, we had those MTR packets and all. So we used to give them that for breakfast, because when I started off like that.
Like with MTR packets.
Yeah, because I have a lot of Jain people. So senior citizens, I've Got Jain, Swaminarayans. They have had their doors with the commercial companies. And now they want to do something in a very different way.
Yeah.
So if you go to Norway, and if you can't ask them to climb the Geiranger Falls, because that's quite a trek and quite steep. But there are other things to do, with them. You could take them on a cruise and, something like that. Then we also went on a cruise, and there was ice. So the ship was breaking the ice, and then they made us wear the thermal jackets. And they said that you jump inside the water. It was so therapeutic. So initially the first time I felt that, oh my God, no, I'm not going to do this. And then I was like, I have to have this experience. It's better than, free falling, skydiving and all that. So I just jumped with the thermal suite. And oh my God, I was just floating, and what an experience. It was very therapeutic. I was there in the water for 10 minutes, and then I jumped out. So all this, the ship breaking the ice, and everything is an experience by itself. And we stayed in the igloos, and the igloos were open to sky, and we could see the Northern Lights. There were alarms. So in the middle of the night, when the Northern Lights appear, they just ring the alarm, and we all wake up. So all these are very
very like deepening, and they give you a experience which is enriching for, like, in all senses. Like, as you say, if you jump in a cold lake or something, it's gonna like wake you up because it's cold, and your body feels it. All the senses feel it. So in that way. But you talk about like therapeutic. Like, what about it specifically? Like, do you feel something changes in you, or the way you look at it, or Like, how do you find
It's just
it?
the adrenaline rush
Okay.
at that time. And then, once you jump inside, it's out of fear that, oh my God, but still I'll make it a try. But once you are inside, everything changes. It's like how you go for scuba diving or how you go for a skydiving. Once you're out of the plane, once you jump down, you feel like you're on top of the world. You feel you're like sailing and floating, and
And you did like the best thing in the world. Like you did something in the world.
Yeah. So on one such experiences, we went like right on the North Pole, and we had a chef. We had a celebrity chef. Of course, we bumped into him. He was not a part of our tour, but they had just laid down a table, and they were just cooking meat and everything. The ship was here, and there was ice over here, and they were just
On the shore?
they were on the shore, and they were. It was all ice, and they were like waiting for the passengers to come and start eating. And suddenly, there somebody spotted a polar bear.
Okay.
And they said that just stay like that.
Stay
Don't
still.
move and don't do anything.
Okay.
And then they just set up a fire over there. So all these are experiences that we see. So mine is more of experiential.
And I think people value that more now also, because so many people, like, it's so dull anyway that you go and you see the sights and you see the big landmarks and everything. But I think to have, and I would have never understood this had I not had, like, an experience. Like, so when I mentioned that when I went to Stockholm, like, I ended up going there because one of my friend invited me at a friend's summer house for 2-3 days, for like a weekend they spend there. It's like a ritual that they do every summer, because summer is big in Scandinavia and Stockholm and things like that. So they invited me, and then, like, I was there, and there were some 30 people there, and like, and they had to tell some people not to, some of their friends, they had to decline them because I was coming or whatever, like, to make space or whatever. And that whole thing, like made me realize about this experiential thing that you're talking about, because I was there with the locals, like, I saw their culture, like, right in front of me, like how they are, and the whole party, like it's not like a normal party where you just play music, dance, or drink or whatever. It's like they play games. It's very interactive, and it's like they form teams, and like it's a proper bonding exercise kind of a thing that they do every summer. And
because summer is very short. And like when I went in November, the sun used to set at 2 o'clock. 2 p.m. it was dark. So we had to wake up early. Early also, the sun rises at 6 and it sets at 2. So that is the only time we have to see all the sightseeing stuff.
I've not been there in November. I was still in, like, August or July, August or something, like July, I think. But the whole thing that when you say, like, earlier, I was never into, like, travel that much. When you say that, I think you got your brother into travel, or he got you into travel or something. You said that he...
No, he was never into travel.
Yeah, so same. Like, with me, it was the other way around. Like, my brother was always into travel and I was not. But when I saw him, like, doing these things, having experiences, like, he always wanted to go for a Christmas holiday to Europe, and he like had this road trip with his friends, and I never I never felt like, okay, I want to do it. But when I went there, and I was like, yeah, now I want to do it. Like, so it was like the other way around for me. Like, my brother got me into travel. Talk to me about you started Voyager, you started planning these people with mom and kids parties, and people with the geriatric people who went out with you and everything. You said one very interesting thing, that elder people came to you and they said that this is the kind of experience they want. They came to you. What did they tell you? That what were they missing, and why? What did they tell you?
They've always been on those commercial trips. That's what they used to tell me, that we've been on these commercial trips, and Savar thi Sanj, it is Raat, thaki na aviye, and it's the same Indian cuisine, and Savar na paua khawana, and you know, in the afternoon there is chole, and in the night there is paneer.
Yeah.
So we also want to, we are vegetarians, but food is also a big thing. We want to enjoy the food and everything. So, and they used to be, if they go to they went to Europe, they used to be stationed at very far away places from the city center. So they've never seen the hustle and bustle of the city, what a city is, what a downtown is.
Yeah.
So they were very well traveled, and they also wanted to party. They also wanted to have their slice of life. So, you know, I do it in a very different way. So if it is Helsinki, you have to stay in the city center. Wherein here, when you go down, there is a tram right outside your hotel. You can just take a tram and you can go wherever you want to, or there are shopping centers, or there is access to 7-Elevens or a pharmacy. That is all these things are very important.
Yeah.
And nowadays this is a world of veganism.
Yeah.
So we get vegan food very easily. So vegetarian also you don't have to worry anymore. And I also have a few of my clients who don't eat, of course they don't eat onions and potatoes and garlic, but apart from that they don't eat those rooted vegetables like carrot and beet and all that. So we get food prepared for them from here, and then we courier it to the first destinations. If, for example, if it is Finland, we courier it to Helsinki. From Helsinki, it is delivered at our hotel, and from there, you know, we take everything. So one lunch, we just pay, say, 10 euros to a gas station or something, wherein they will allow us to use their microwaves. And we warm up the food and all that. And then we have our lunch with bread and paneer and dahi. You know, curd is easily available. But what they want is an experience, you know, and they want to travel like a pro, like a backpacker. I always feel that I always tell my kids that you should always travel like a backpacker, because you can see, and it makes you rich. Travel makes you rich in knowledge. So
I think until people have experienced a certain kind of an experience, and they, as you said, that they feel awakened, like which I felt, like you know, in the true sense of the word, that it opened my eyes. Like, and I think until a person feels that once, then they start looking for it. You know, or if they've heard from somebody, then they are curious that, okay, you know, that what does it mean? Like, I also want to go and experience it.
True.
Talk to me about some, you've planned some great experiences, as we've talked about, but talk to me about some even, like, you know, like different or eccentric experiences that people have come to you for, or people have specifically told you that, you know, plan like a different kind of a thing for
So
us.
I've always been into mom and kids, into only kids as well. So, you know, March 2020, we had an entire slot booked for Polo Forest. So I was only going to take the kids, and we had booked a nice fancy hotel, and, you know, we were going to do all the treks and all. But that could not happen. And sorry, before that in 2019, there were Pulwama attacks in Kashmir. And I had a group tour of the kids, you know, those were older kids. And so I was going to take about 30 kids, and so many parents, you know, they said that, sorry, we need to cancel. We were going to go in May, and they said that we will cancel, we want to cancel. So from 30, we came down to, I called everybody at my place. I convinced them that, you know, don't worry, everything is going to be safe, this, that. But then I ended up taking 18 kids. I somehow tried to convince the parents, and then we were a team, you know, we went, I took my kids also, just to boost their morale that my own kids are coming, and my son was like 4 years old that time. So when we went, so I have connects with the BSF in Gulmarg. So first of all, we had made this Kashmir trip in a very different way. We went strawberry picking. So very few people know about strawberries. And we went to the saffron fields. We showed them the apple orchards as well. So of course, in every tour you stop by at the apple orchards, but they give you juices and all. But we went inside and they could pick the apples. They could climb the trees and pick the apples, and then they wash the apples, and we asked them to just eat it. How juicy it was. All those were of course experiences. But then in Gulmarg we were supposed to go on phase 2. There's phase 1 and phase 2. And from there, so in Pulwama attacks, I don't know if you know if that Abhinandan fell from his chopper and he landed in Pakistan. So when we were in phase 2, we were like, that was the time, wherein Abhinandan fell. That from that place Abhinandan fell, and that is Pakistan. So then the BSF, I had connect. So we took the kids on a different route all the way at the border, and they took the kids and they showed how Indian soldiers were staying in bunkers, and they were only eating just onions and roti for 6 months. And how they were sleeping in the bunkers, how is their the way they live, and kids really enjoyed all these experiences. They didn't allow us to click pictures, so of course this I could not showcase it, but this was an experience of a lifetime. And
very formative also for kids. Taking kids to a place where it's going to stay with them forever, like their lifetime.
So these are all older kids, and they've been studying about the Indian, the border security force and the Indian Air Force and everything. So they could actually relate to. So our tours are very educational as well. In tandem with the nature and the education and everything. And we used to stop by at all the streams. If I feel that they want to take a break, they want to take a loo break or something, I always find out streams. So these are all natural streams wherein you get spring water. I drink that water, and nothing happens to me. So we always say that you can take out your shoes and socks and you can just dip your water. That is how we do it. We just randomly stop by and do.
That's great. I mean, it brings you closer to nature. It makes you free, because here when you live in a city, you're always like around like noise and car noises and all that stuff, and
you're disconnected from your cell phone also, because in all these places there is hardly any signal. So and as far as safety is concerned, we were very, very, I was very skeptical that I'm taking so many kids and the entire responsibility is me. There was no signal. Parents were trying to call, and we always, every day we used to inform all the 18 parents that don't worry, your child is safe with us. We used to make them talk and all. So it was a very... it was an added responsibility.
Of course, I think so. Has any child come to you and told you that, wow, how it awakened me, or in their own language or in their own way they tried to communicate with you the purpose that you took them for, like more than just seeing sights or something, like they expressed to you that I felt different, or I learned something new which I was not expecting. Has anybody like come to you and talk to you about it?
So we always share our experiences, and see, children are such that they will adopt anywhere and everywhere. They are not the types to be cribbing. So even if we don't give them luxury hotels, or if we don't give them comfort, they are absolutely okay. And everything is an experience for them. So they bond with the other kids, and we also sometimes in one of the tours we fetch vegetables like onions and potatoes and everything, and we cut also for them. Then we ask them to make their own pav bhaji, so that is dinner.
Oh, wow.
And we make them wake up at 4 a.m. in the morning to see the sunrise.
Oh, wow.
So all that is also a part. So everybody shares their experiences in the end, and we learn rather from the children, that they give us so much inspiration that they give their thoughts, their suggestions, and then we think that they
noticed that much.
Aisa bhi, we could do this also, we could do that also. So in fact, I am a learner So
Okay.
if I always am open to ideas and everything. In the same way, senior citizens as well, but they don't have much to share. Children have a lot to share.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
start and they never end.
They never end. And they give you, every time they give you something new and good and
Yeah.
everything. So talk to me about that. Now you had a passion, you had a calling, and then you followed it, and things happened. You had a company, and people also gravitated towards you, because you have that X factor, and you have very in-depth knowledge about destinations and why and how to plan, basically. Not many people have that. But say, for example, somebody looking at you, they feel like, oh, I have a passion, say in XYZ thing, or maybe in travel itself. So what would you tell them? Like, how, because you are in travel industry, but you have a lot of experience in general ahead, before you. So what are the few things that you feel like, okay, this if I should have done, or this, if somebody would ask me for advice, I would tell them this. Yeah.
So generally, when people come to me, I always tell them that you please take some time and come to me. I need to understand everybody's interests, because if I keep talking to them about animals and wildlife, and then I figure out after half an hour that they don't understand a thing. Their passion is more towards culture and art. They are the arty types. Then I feel that the time is wasted. So I always first ask them, that what are your interests. I try to understand the other person, that what do they want, and how do they need to know that. And then the world is huge. So you just can't tell them. They will say that we want to go for 7-8 days, but then 7-8 days is like not specific. So in 7-8 days, a lot of things can be done. So
No, I meant in terms of following a passion.
Okay.
Like in a career way, like how you built a career out of your passion. Like in that way, if somebody is sitting and thinking they have like a unique, eccentric passion, which is different, which not everybody is doing. So, and it takes guts to, follow that, because everybody around you always tries to convince you opposite of it.
Right. So
In
these
that
days,
way.
school knowledge or educational knowledge is definitely there, but you should always go with your gut feeling, your instincts. Because I have done my MBA in international business, in marketing, but that had nothing to do with geography. So like it just came as a natural instinct to me, and then it's all about being street smart. It's all about reading. You need to do your research. Without research, nothing can happen.
In any field.
Yeah, in any field. So it's not that, I know all the places. There are so many places in the world which I absolutely don't know. And I have to do my own reading. So I have to motivate myself also. And there are so many things in the world that, I'm not, for example, I'm not an arty person. Art doesn't entice me or something like that.
Yeah.
So, but then for my clients, I have to
Research about
that. So, if you are in the field of travel, you have to follow your gut feelings, your instincts, and your passion. But at the same time, you also need to do your research.
And that what the other person wants. Like,
Yeah.
So basically, in whatever field you are in, research about what your client wants.
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely.
And then
Yeah.
figure out that if you can give that to them,
Yeah.
then you can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what.
Absolutely.
Right. Also, talk to me about that. COVID happened and it took a big toll on traveling all over the world. Like it just stopped. It didn't take a toll, but it just stopped. How have you dealt with that? Like how has it been for you at the Voyager, and how have you navigated around that situation?
So that was a very big opportunity for myself. I've been associated with various organizations, and thanks to them, I've been functioning, and I've got an excellent setup of suppliers all over the world. Now they are my friends also. So of course, Zoom was a savior, and I always used to talk to my clients on Instagram. I always used to be live on Instagram, or talk to them by my through my video messages, that the world has not come to an end, and this is just a phase of time. And we did a lot of Zoom calls and Zoom meetings, and I upgraded my knowledge in that COVID time.
Okay.
So South America was another destination that I wanted to explore, and I got in touch with the experts over there, and I took classes and I upgraded my knowledge. So now when I want to, the next destination after Scandinavia, it's too much of Scandinavia now. So now the next I want to do is South America.
Okay.
And, by God's grace, if I can do an Antarctic cruise or something like that, that would be an added benefit.
Yeah.
But, and also pre-COVID, I've sent a group of college students to Madagascar.
Okay.
That was a very offbeat kind of a thing. They wanted to see animals and just be with them, the monitor lizards and all that. So then I had less idea about the destination, so I upgraded my knowledge in that. So you always have to be open to learning, and you need to upgrade your knowledge. So those 2 months, and then slowly last year September things started speeding up. So then India was the option.
Yeah.
In India also road traveling was the option. We could not fly. Flights were still not this thing. So then we identified so many places in Rajasthan that we could discover, and thanks to my association with Gujarat Tourism, that I always had clients. It was not that clients didn't come to me. I always used to promote that these are the offbeat things that you can do. It's not the end of the world. And then before the second wave, we started doing very well. We used to send people to Kashmir and all those places.
Yeah.
And then corporates, I deal with a lot of corporates, and then they came to me with a concept of workation, that we want to send employees to the mountains for 1 month.
Yeah.
And we want them to, because their mindset and everything, staying at home, working from home.
It's depressing.
Yeah, it's it's depressing, and a lot of habits change.
Yes.
So they wanted them to move out and so vacations, staycations, that those concepts started coming. So that is how we started.
Yeah. So, and I think in a way, as from what I can get from what you just said, that COVID, because you in general also plan very different, unique experiences. So I think COVID just helped you to look for the new, unique experiences just right around you, maybe.
Yeah.
Which were reachable, and that's how you kept on going.
Yeah.
So it did not
So had I just sat idle, I don't know why I would have gone mad.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you would have been in a conventional travel agency, then it would have been hard for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But because you are in general also, you look for different unique things, then I think that was the advantage that you had, I think. Yeah. Now we'll move to a segment which is like a little more fun.
Okay.
It's called Curious Quick 5. So I'll ask you like 5 questions, and you can answer. What's the one thing you're curious about, apart from it can be a travel or not related to travel also?
I'm curious about learning new things all the time.
Okay.
So right now also I'm learning. I'm curious about how you are doing such a podcast.
Yeah. Great. Thank you. What's the one person you're curious about?
I always wanted to get into the lives of I always wanted to get into the lives of archaeologists, because how they
interesting.
Do
Very
that.
interesting.
They go to any nook and corner of the world and they discover so many things. So that has always been. I've not been able to find out.
Okay. Very interesting. What's the one technology that you're curious about?
In fact, I'm somebody who is off technology.
Okay. Yeah, that's been the theme of my guests today.
I think there's too much of technology happening right now. So
you don't need more.
Yeah, I don't need more.
Whatever we have is fine.
Yeah.
Great.
It's too much.
Yeah. What's the one place you're curious to travel to?
So I want to travel to South America, especially Argentina and the Antarctics.
What's the one book or author you're curious about?
I've always been a fan of Ashwin Sanghi.
Okay. What does he write about?
So he's about mythology, and I'm more inclined towards mythology, and that's how archaeologists come into picture.
Yeah,
and
it's all
history.
connected.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. So we've reached the end of the podcast, and I would like to ask you, like, if there's anything that you want to share about the Voyager, or any upcoming future experiences that you are planning, which are new, which no one has ever done yet, but you are planning and you want to share that, for the first time, or anything, and anything that I've not asked you, anything that you want to share.
So Voyager is basically all about travel, and we keep doing things differently all the time.
Yeah.
So I just need to get connected to all the viewers, all of you out there, to get in touch with me if you feel you want to do something in a very different way. Because sky is the limit, and India is also huge.
Yeah.
So next we are going to Kaziranga just to see the one-horned rhino. And we are going to stay in stilt houses, on stilt houses.
Oh, wow.
Because Meghalaya and all those places have lots of floods. So there are these boutique properties which are of course luxurious, and they are built on stilt houses, so thatched roofs and all. So it's going to be a feeling of the forest.
Count me in.
No, it's not a group tour.
Okay.
But so whenever I do a tour or something like, whenever I travel, I always post my stories right from the beginning to the end about what I'm doing, when I'm waking up, when I'm going to sleep.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
yeah.
Great. I mean, I would love to join you on these adventures. I'm going to call you up more. And any thoughts that you want to share, like any feedback you want to give me, because it's the first
I'm so
time.
happy to be on this platform because this has given me an opportunity to reach out to all you viewers.
Yeah.
And it's a unique concept that you have started off with. I've been to a lot of TV interviews and TV shows. I've been on Instagram Live, but this is something really unique. So all the best to you for your venture.
Thank you. And thank you so much for taking the time and coming and talking about your journey. And I've had so much fun, and I've discovered so much.
Right.
Like, that's why I do this, and I got to do that. Like, knowing new things, which you don't expect that, you might not even think of, or have heard of, or your immediate people don't know those things. So thank you for expanding my horizon about travel.
Anytime. Thank you for getting me here and hearing me out, and always travel to awaken.
Yes. More important.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.